Hey guys, okay, I've got a diagram that I wanted to share with you, and I have to basically warn a few people that this information may be a little bit confronting because a lot of people have long held the belief that has been pushed in the New Agey community that enlightenment and an expansion of consciousness is all about the pineal gland. And so today I am basically going to show you some information because I've been asking some questions and a few things really aren't adding up for me. And so I think that what we need to do is instead of just continue to accept information because it sounds good or because of who is giving us this information, we need to start thinking logically and critically about what has been basically given to us. Now, we're told that the reason that the pine cone symbolism is relating to the pineal gland is because it looks like the pineal gland and it also has the word pine within the pineal gland. Now, we can see just looking at this diagram that the pineal gland doesn't look anything like a pine cone. However, if we have a look at the crown chakra, we can see that indeed it is the crown chakra that looks like a pine cone. And this makes sense because we see the pine cone is actually situated on the top of the caduceus. And this is because it is the crown chakra. It is the seventh chakra. If the pine cone was symbolizing the pineal gland, well, the chakra that relates to the pineal gland is the Ajna chakra or the third eye chakra, and that is actually the sixth chakra. So I don't really understand how we can equate the pineal gland to the crown chakra when we reach enlightenment through the pineal gland, how we can suddenly utilize the energetic chakra system for that experience, but then we simply ignore the Ajna third eye chakra in this process. I really do not understand how this process goes from being a spiritual process using energy within us, and many of these pineal gland researchers postulate that it is the Kundalini energy that we need to balance within us. And when we have that balance correct, or we have the left and right hemispheres of our brain in balance, or we have the male and female hemispheres of our brain in balance, because a lot of these researchers misinterpret gender and they actually label anything that has left or right or positive or negative as male and female because it's an easy way to explain gender. The truth about gender is that gender principles of male and female have elements of positive, negative within them, have elements of left and right mental hemispheres within our brain. They do not embody entirely those genders because if we think to hermetics, and I know a lot of these researchers use hermetics, especially the mental universe, to back their theories, then we need to understand everything plays out on three planes, and that is the physical, the spiritual, and the mental. So if our brains were half and half, male and female, then that would have to play out in the physical. If our energy within our body, our Kundalini energy, was male and female, well, then that would have to play out in our body and we would basically be hermaphrodites. So we can see that when we start actually thinking about this information and not just accepting it because of who's giving us this information or because this information sounds good, it really starts to come unstuck. And we are left asking a lot more questions of how this actually works. And we see that this theory is postulated by a lot of these researchers, but they don't actually explain to us where in any of the Vedic texts or the Hermetic texts or any of the ancient mythology and the ancient scripture where it can show that you have a spiritual energy within you, an ethereal energy like the Ida and Pingala, which is your Kundalini, suddenly make it a physical experience through a physical part of your body, completely ignoring the Ajna third eye chakra, and then translating that physical part of your body back into the spiritual. And then that's when we somehow, burst through our crown chakra. So is it a physical experience or is it a spiritual experience? We seem to be flipping between one to the other and back to the other. And to me, it seems very confusing, and it's also incorrect because it can't be both. It's either a physical experience or it's either a spiritual experience using your energetic centers within your body. So I don't understand how these researchers can use the crown chakra yet completely ignore the Ajna chakra. Now, the Ajna chakra, as I said, is the sixth primary chakra, and I will link this information underneath for you to have a look at, because when I posted this in my Facebook group, a lot of people said, wow, I wasn't even aware of the Ajna chakra. I hadn't really looked into it. And this is because, once again, we get into the habit of just accepting information that's given to us and we don't question it. And when we start questioning this information about the pineal gland and we start relating it to this other information, this factual information from the Hindu texts, and let's remember that this is where the chakra system originates, from the Hindu information and the Hindu ancient knowledge. It seems that instead of them continuing to follow through with all of the information from the Hindu, they just pick and choose what information that they want and what can fit into the theories of what they want to believe. And so we all have free will to basically believe what we want, but when I'm in a position as a researcher and I see information that isn't making sense, then I feel it is my obligation, and I must stay in truth, to bring forward these questions that I am having. So I am not wanting to attack these researchers. I am merely asking these researchers to please explain how this spiritual experience goes from a spiritual experience, and it begins as a spiritual experience using our Kundalini energy and our chakra systems. But then when we get to the third eye, we suddenly forget about the Ajna chakra. It's completely ignored. And then afterwards, we skip back over to the crown chakra. So I really would like an explanation based on some verifying information from the texts or Hermetics or any scripture that can show how this process can switch from the spiritual to the physical and then back to the spiritual. And why would that not be actually mentioned within the Hindu scripture and the Hindu knowledge when they were actually the culture that gave us this information about enlightenment and gave us this information about Kundalini and gave us this information about the crown chakra? And so it says here that the Ajna chakra is positioned in the brain directly behind the center of the forehead. Now, I am not saying that the pineal gland is not an important aspect of our body, just as I am not saying that the heart is not an important aspect of our body. What I am needing to basically understand is how we go from this physical into the spiritual. Now, if we're actually looking at this and equating it to the pineal gland, this enlightenment, this experience that we have when we meet this Kundalini energy of Ida and Pingala, male and female, at the pineal gland, what happens with the physical heart? are we actually ignoring the physical heart now as well? And we're only paying attention to the pineal gland. So as you can see, there are a lot of very confusing aspects to this theory that don't make a lot of sense. It seems that we just get to pick and choose which chakras we include. We get to pick and choose which chakras we ignore, and we get to pick and choose which body parts are also involved in this process. And we know that the pineal gland and the heart work together. They both have very similar neurons within them. We know that, that the mind and the heart are linked energetically. So I don't understand that we don't hear about what happens to the physical heart in this experience of enlightenment when the Ida and Pingala suddenly meet at the pineal gland. And I don't understand what happens to the Ajna chakra, the third eye chakra. Why is that being excluded from any of this information? Now, the other thing that I just wanted to also relay to people is that this information has been put into the New Age movement for a reason, and that is when you understand that they're switching this over to the pineal gland and it's a physical aspect of our body, that they're really wanting to give us the perception that this all happens on a physical level. Now, if you've been following my information, you know that our physical bodies are only our container for our true form, which is our ethereal self. So it seems to me that there is an agenda, that the New Agey movement has been infiltrated, and this real push about the pineal gland is there for a reason, and that is because it keeps us in this perception of the physical body, instead of making it a completely spiritual experience and a completely ethereal experience, which is what the Hindu actually say, and is what actually makes sense when you understand how the ethereal and the physical work. You can't swap from one to the other. So I know that this information is going to confront a lot of people because they have held on to this belief. It is a very attractive belief that all we have to do is meditate or not ingest fluoride or not eat meat, and then somehow we're going to magically just experience this event one day. This is not an event that happens through meditation or balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain or balancing energy within you. It does not equate to enlightenment. Enlightenment comes when you are basically in alignment with your heart. It all comes from your heart. The key to everything is your heart. And I know that is a lot of responsibility for some people, that they have to be accountable for their actions. A lot of people would rather just think that they can continue on in their life doing as they wish as a free spirit, and they're really not accountable to anything or anybody. And when we have this belief about the pineal gland, this type of mentality that it's just this physical experience and this is just a process that you reach when you are somehow balancing energy within you, and nobody can really explain to me how you do that other than through meditation, and even then there is really no evidence or verification that meditation is anything more than a mind clearing tool. Once again, we have the New Agey movement grab hold of this meditation, and it's become this latest fad where everybody meditates and believes that that is somehow benefiting them spiritually, when all it's really doing is clearing your mind of clutter and of overthinking. It's just something you do to find a place of inner peace within your mind. And people can do this with artwork, people can do this when they're mowing the lawn or listening to music. It doesn't mean you have to sit cross-legged and chant Om, and somehow you are benefiting yourself and going to experience this enlightenment through your pineal gland. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. I know this isn't going to be very popular with many people, but as you can see, I don't have a donate button and I don't have any books to sell. I don't have any lectures to offer you on video. I just put this information out because I want people to just think about things and understand the truth behind everything. Okay, guys, well, I'll leave it here. And as always, peace out.